Hi, everybody. We are once again here to help Gordon Dill and our consumer expert, Diane Lee, with us once again. And this time you're joining us to talk about something that, well, I hope you haven't had to deal with, but you probably will sooner or later, right, Diane?
So many have. It's just horrible to open those medical bills and see what you owe, especially after you've had a major surgery. And many people who can't afford that think that it's a hopeless situation, but it's not necessarily so. Check this out.
Wrap your mind around this. 100 million people are struggling to pay off medical debt, totaling $220 billion. I'm 7 News consumer anchor Diane Lee. While there's no magic wand, there are avenues you can explore that offer the booster shot you may need to tackle medical debt.
7 out of 10 people wind up like Charles Garrett, sifting through medical bills they simply can't afford. Garrett spent more than 20 days in the hospital last spring recovering from a massive blood clot.
Right now I owe Prisma $4,628.91. And they tell me right here that I can sign up to pay $250 a month on set up a payment plan.
Is that doable for you?
No.
Still, that doesn't mean Garrett's out of options. First, many hospitals like Prisma let patients apply for financial assistance. This table shows the income thresholds, and since Garrett's annual income is just over $27,000, he may be eligible for help. Next, there's financial experts like Chris Holman at Greenville Federal Credit Union who are trained to help you find money you didn't know you had.
You may come in for the medical collections and try to find out, how do I prepare and pay this debt? And we may learn you're paying high interest on other things. We may learn that your money is not working well for you and that there's opportunity within products of the credit union that can actually save you more.
Garrett happens to have a private loan with a predatory lending interest rate, 149%, so we encouraged him to explore refinancing.
You have equity in this house, so you could potentially get a much lower interest rate on a private loan and pay that other private loan off. Do you think that would help you pay this medical bill?
Possibly.
There you go.
Whatever the means, if you don't want your credit to tank and late fees to skyrocket, you'll want to pay off the debt before it goes to collections. By law, any medical debt over $500 that's delinquent for more than a year is reported to the 3 credit reporting agencies.
Now, unpaid medical debt is often sold for pennies on the dollar to a debt buyer, and that new owner has the right to collect the full amount owed, but they often will work with you if you negotiate a lower settlement.
First, request proof of the debt to verify it's accurate. Then offer a settlement amount starting low at 25 to 40% of the original amount. And be sure to get any agreement in writing before paying that shows the debt will be considered paid in full. There's one more way thousands are getting their medical debt erased, through the nonprofit Undo Medical Debt. Scott Crawford got involved after his own cancer diagnosis. The mounting bills led his mother to confess her struggles with medical debt after the death of his stepfather when he was a child.
When you are a beneficiary of the charity, you have no idea this is going on. You'll get a letter in the mail saying your debt's been paid and an offer to restore your credit.
The nonprofit buys unpaid medical debt for a fraction of the original bill, but unlike debt collectors, cancels the debt. In the last 5 years, Crawford has raised $300,000 and retired $45 million in medical debt, mostly in South Carolina, helping 46,000 families.
Helping one person's great, but helping thousands through this, it's uplifting, and it motivates me to keep coming back and doing it again.
Still, since you can't request individual help from Undo, Garrett is just glad to have other options.
Does it give you a little bit of hope?
Oh yeah. And when whenever you sent me the email back saying that you wanted to talk about it and everything, I told her, I said, we may have a solution here right off the bat.
I hope you do.
I'm delighted to report that Mr. Garrett was able to refinance that high-interest loan thanks to the credit union, and he's working on a new application for financial aid through Prisma.
So I guess in his case, Diane, it wasn't so much the medical debt. He was just reorganizing all of his finances to sort of free up money.
It was
didn't reduce
both.
his bill. Really.
It was both. He had $5,000 in medical debt, and then you look at all the avenues that you can use to pay for that, right? So our first one immediately was to identify this current loan that he had. What was the interest rate there? I mean, when I was talking with him that day, he thought it might be like around 18%. When he really looked into it, because there had been a mispayment, and it was through one of those companies that's where the writing is such that if you miss one payment, it jumps really high. Yeah. It was up to over 100%.
That's insane.
Yeah. So getting that problem solved is going to help him no matter what, even if there weren't medical debt. But it can actually shore up some money to pay off the medical debt. I also am extremely happy to report, and this just happened this week, that I did hear from Mr. Garrett that application that he resubmitted to Prisma, which had originally been denied, there must have been some sort of clerical error, and he didn't know to resubmit it because he absolutely qualified when it came to the income threshold, and he got 100% coverage on his medical bill.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so let's talk about that. I have that on the web here. Let me
We can pull up the Prisma site. So basically, it's just an understanding that whatever hospital system you go to, you can actually check into their financial assistance programs. Almost all of them have that. And here you can see, Gordon, this is the income threshold from October of this year, right? So if you look for a family of one, it's actually pretty high, right? If a person is earning
40,000.
between 39 and 62, so 39 would be almost complete coverage. The income level cap is up to 62. So if you're closer to 62,000, you're probably not going to get much, if any, financial aid. But look at a family of four there.
Sure.
If you're earning a little less than 128,000, you could get some financial aid on certain things.
And so, okay, help me understand this. So is this, I see the income level cap, that left column, and allowance to give 100%. Does that mean people below that threshold, the hospital would work for 100% of their medical debt? Is that how, am I understanding that correctly?
So yeah, it's a curve there, right? So usually in that middle column, if you are below that middle column, then you would get 100% coverage. So for instance, Mr. Garrett he earned $27,000 a year, and he qualified. He actually was a family of two because his wife was there, though we didn't meet her on camera, and he would by far qualify, right? Because $27,000 is a lot less here than $52,000.
Yeah, sure.
And so that's why he got 100% coverage. So I will tell you this, when we started researching this and I saw this graph, which I had never seen before, because, why look into this if you haven't had the issue?
No.
Yeah, I said something must have been wrong in his first application. And I said, Charlie, you've got to reapply because I just think there might have been a clerical error or something. And if he hadn't reapplied, he would never have known that he really did qualify to get that full coverage.
It is surprising, too, because, I mean, in his case, you said he had a blood clot, right? I mean, that's a life-threatening condition in his case. And nobody goes to the hospital in an emergency and says, hang on, before you save my life, what's that going to run me? You know what I mean? I mean, nobody asks those questions in advance. And so it is always after the fact that we find out, I owe how much to who, what doctor. Yeah. It is confusing, this stuff.
And that's why it is so difficult for consumers. Here's what I would advocate. Not everyone is going to be in Charlie Garrett's situation, right? Not everyone will meet these income cap requirements. But what you can do is ask your hospital system or doctor's office to work with you. So let's go over some of the steps. I think we have a couple of them. We might not have it listed, but as we chat about this, Gordon, basically the steps are this. Contact the hospital and ask if they will work with you on the bill. Most of them will, in the least, offer a payment plan system that will be, and this is important to note, interest-free.
Okay.
So they may say 1 year, 2 years that you have to pay it off, and can you make this amount per month?
That's a zero interest loan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, you'd probably have to have that directly deposited so that you keep up with it, and that might be part of the agreement so that the hospital system knows that they'll get the funds. But it is a great method for you to kind of spread out that larger payment. Also, sometimes they'll just work with you if you explain your situation. They might reduce the bill a little bit further too in some situations. So just be your own advocate, and it could work for you.
Well, this stuff, it does get so complicated. It's even if you have insurance, who covers what, and the billing cycles. It is before we run out of time, I do want to talk about, since I'm on the web here, this. So I know we've covered this on the news a little bit before, this particular charity that will pay people's medical debt. It sounds too good to be true. So tell me
It does.
exactly who qualifies for this and how they would become a beneficiary of it.
Well, the first thing I really do want to hit home with this is not a program that you can apply towards. You cannot appeal to this nonprofit and say, I have this outstanding medical debt, can you help me? That's not how it works. What they do is they go to the various hospital systems and they see which individuals are most in need of some help based on their finances and based on the longevity of how long the loan has been outstanding. Okay. And then they kind of help out all systems, because at that point, if the debt hasn't been paid off for quite a while, the hospital system is going to assume that it may never be paid off. So at least they're willing to take some money for it. And that's how undue medical debt is able to buy this at a much lower rate. Also to note, that is how the debt collectors buy it at a much lower rate. Yeah. And when the debt collectors call you, they're not trying to get it for the lower rate that they bought it at. They're trying to get you to pay the original rate, and they have the right to do that. They did not buy it for that rate, but they're banking on at least some people being able to pay back at the original rate, especially if they call a lot. So it's the same system, but very different outcomes, right? You have a charity that's not going to charge you, and then the debt collectors do.
So in this case, in undue, I don't apply for it, and I may never know how I got into that system. They just pay my debt with no participation by me at all?
Exactly, but you will be notified. So anyone that has experienced this will actually get a letter in the mail, and also get an offering in that letter that this nonprofit will reach out to the 3 credit bureaus on your behalf and report that debt has been erased. So yeah, it is a really wonderful program, and I will say for anyone who's interested in just helping with this program, your dollar goes so far. If you donate $10, that's the equivalent of $1,000 in medical debt, just because of the difference in the amount of that they buy it for versus what the original debt was. So you can really help a lot of people out. And again, this goes to the people who really need their debt erased the most, because they're least likely to afford it.
And before we run out of time, I know I said that before we got to undo, but let's just one more note on these collection agencies. And I mean, it's a legitimate business, right? It is somebody collecting business who has provided a service and deserves to get paid. But you're exactly right. What the collection agency is doing is, if you owe $100 to the hospital, they may buy that debt for $15 from the hospital. And that's where your negotiation ability comes in.
Yeah, and we're looking at that right now, Gordon. I mean, that's where you really can negotiate the most. Not necessarily with the original hospital system, though you should try, but really with those debt collectors. I would start again at, you know what, I'm willing to pay. If you're going to accept this today, I will pay in full, but only 25%. And then if they say, okay, we'll work with you on that, or if they bring it low, we're going to do 30%, and you're willing to take that, make sure before you pay a dime that you get in writing that would be the equivalent of paying this debt off in full, and that you wouldn't owe anything afterwards.
Before I pay. Before I send them the check for 25%,
say, I will agree to this. You have my, and send it in the mail. I will sign that document, and once that's in, I will pay.
Okay, good. Good advice. Hopefully, folks, you're not struggling with medical debt, but that is the system we have. Sooner or later, we're all going to run up against it. I just got out of major surgery myself, so believe me.
How are you feeling, by the way?
I'm feeling better. I can walk now, which is nice. But believe me, the debt is real.
It is.
All right, we're going to come back with more great advice to help you save a little bit of money after we take a quick break. And we are back. Gordon Dill, consumer expert Diane Lee. And this one, I just watched through your report on this just the other day, Diane, on targeted internet pricing, and it is going to make people mad.
Yes, no one wants to pay more than their neighbor, Gordon. It doesn't seem fair, right? But it is happening, and here's why.
By now, you've likely seen ads following you around from website to website. Well, now there's a whole new level of tracking, online surveillance. It could be impacting the price that you see at checkout. I'm 7 News consumer anchor Diane Lee with what you should know about targeted pricing.
Inasmuch as your data is more valuable than ever to companies, it could cost you more when you check out. Monica Begg says she lost nearly $400 from one of the most notable examples, buying flights. She searched one day, came back 2 days later, and the price had tripled.
They can track what we're looking at online, so I was looking at a conference that was important to me. So maybe they were tracking that and say, okay, well, she didn't book this time. When she comes back, let's up it a little bit.
The concept of targeted price hikes based on a person's data profile is called surveillance pricing. Christopher Flatham with Clemson Center for Human AI Interaction says artificial intelligence has changed the game.
Historically, if you were on a e-commerce website, you might look at what someone recently searched on that website and what they clicked on, and that might inform what they might be interested in buying. But now you're tracking what they're doing on website A to inform something on website B, and AI is allowing us to connect all those dots.
Consumers like Brooke Benton have already caught on.
I'm a big Uber Eats gal. Sometimes I'll notice that I have the Plus membership. Sometimes the Plus will be more expensive than the regular.
And you would think it would be the opposite.
Exactly.
Michael Goodman, a concert enthusiast, says he's noticed his location can change the price of tickets.
If I'm in downtown Nashville searching for things, it's never as affordable as if I live a couple miles outside of downtown.
And Mia Yancey says she's seen rideshare pricing tied to factors you might not think of.
Over the course of several days, we kind of realized that as our phones got lower in battery, the Uber rides tended to go up in price.
It's hard to know if you're a target, but there are ways to check for price variations. You can compare your mobile to a desktop, log out of your accounts to see if you're offered a different price, or use a virtual private network and change your location.
Ria Basapa says VPNs have saved her friends big bucks.
When they're booking hotels and they're booking flights, they set the VPN to India. And then just because the prices go down.
Attorney Robin Crothers, who focuses on consumer protection issues, explains why we should care.
How personal does surveillance pricing get?
Very personal. It understands the data about you, includes how much you make, if you have a family, when you were married, how many children you have, what car you drive, what groceries you buy, how many vacations you go on a year.
You can try techniques like private browsers, price history tools, comparing prices with others, and rejecting cookies. But nothing is foolproof.
What habits might make you more inclined to be a target of surveillance pricing?
So I think sharing a lot of information online can obviously do it. I have a very bad habit that definitely makes me a target, which is that I obsessively research things I want to buy.
Whether it's fair.
I always ask them not to share, but it's interesting because they clearly are still sharing.
Surveillance pricing is here to stay.
We definitely cannot go back. So I'm almost like, I've kind of given up.
Now, one way to beat this surveillance pricing is to leave items in your cart for a little while. Sometimes that will trigger a price drop as an incentive for you to buy.
You know what? I've watched this story a couple times now, Diane, and I just now picked up on Clemson has a Center for Human AI Interaction.
Yeah, it does.
Huh.
And actually, it incorporates AI in so many different machines. Like right now, they're working on a machine that's going underwater and using AI to help divers search for cadavers and things like that. It's amazing.
It's AI in a nutshell, actually. That story, that how it can help, and it's probably going to cure cancer at some point. And also, it is horrifying. You know what I mean? And this story kind of gets to that.
Yeah.
Because it's the idea of being able to go through almost every detail of our lives, habits we may not even be aware of ourselves online, and to just target us for individual pricing. I mean, I guess it's legal.
I remember, Gordon, my first interview with an IT specialist, and it was like over a decade ago. And he was saying this concept that they're creating dossiers on you where they can save data and information. And I was thinking, why would they want to do that on individuals like me? You know, and this is why this is so valuable to these companies to know that,
creepy.
I'm this person in this city who likes this product, and she likes this product so much that I bet you she's going to pay a little bit more for this product. So we're going to actually up the price on that product for her, whereas this person hasn't bought it much, so maybe we'll lower it for them.
It's just one of the guys in your story, you described him as a concert enthusiast, which I think would probably apply to me at the very least in this case. So does that mean, let's say, I just bought tickets to see my favorite band in Nashville. Does that mean when I go online to look for an accompanying hotel, maybe I need a rental car, maybe I want to fly to Nashville. I mean, I wouldn't, but maybe I did. Does that mean those prices, the AI is going to go, well, he has to go to Nashville anyway. He's already got the tickets. We can really get him on that hotel price. Is that how it works?
That is exactly what it means. In fact, the woman that we spoke with at the airport who had booked she had looked for a flight, And then she saw it for an inexpensive amount going to a place that she had a convention at. Then instead of buying the flight right away, she went to another website and looked up all the convention details.
Oh, wow.
And then she waited for like one day, came back, and we can't directly say it was because she went to that site and they knew she was going to the convention, but because she had booked something for the convention and the flight wasn't just a little bit higher, it was about $400 higher in one day. So they knew she was going there, you know? So, I mean, it's just for consumers to be aware of this. It's hard to directly link things back, but if you're using the same browser and even if you're using maybe different platforms, they can talk with each other, different apps now, all those data points are being collected. So you just have to kind of be aware that one thing might affect a different price.
I know all of these websites, not all, but almost all, are putting those tracking cookies on your computer. Would it be simple enough for me to just, I mean, I have the incognito mode maybe, or maybe I'm just deleting the cookies. Would that save me from some of this just before I go to the airplane website, delete the cookies, and then look at the price?
Those are very smart moves. I stop short of saying it'll completely save you, but using those private browsers, incognito mode, or those browsers like Brave, which really sort of specialize in not tracking, or there's even browser extensions that you can use. There's something called Origin Lite that you can put on that sort of stops a little bit more of the tracking. And of course, rejecting the cookies. You do not need to give them permissions for the cookies to make these websites work. You can agree to the minimal amount of cookies and they'll still work beautifully.
By the way, dirty trick calling them cookies. Right? Who doesn't like cookies? And yet these tracking software, they're literally, you go to almost any website, including I think ours, and it will put it puts literally code on your computer, and now it is feeding back information all the time of where you went after you left our website. I mean, that's really how all of this,
Gordon,
that's the infrastructure.
We need to come up with a new name, like right here and now, because you're right. It should not be cookies.
It's more like scummies than
scummies,
cookies. It
yes.
really is.
New name, scummies.
Very scummy, that practice of doing it. But so do we have, as consumers, is our government doing anything to protect us from this kind of thing? Do I have any expectation of privacy when I go online?
That's a great question. There have been some lawmakers that have looked into the issue, but there hasn't been any legislation passed at this point. And, you know, in terms of the current field of consumer protection, there's not much belief that there will be anytime soon. So it's really on the consumer to look. And Gordon, you had pulled up that graphic. So I think it's important to kind of go through those points. We mentioned the private browsers already, like Brave, even certain browsers like Firefox and Safari are a little bit more private than your standard other ones like Google. The price history tools, there are places you can go to compare, check the price, see what the history was. So for instance, if you're shopping at Amazon and you want to see what the history of a product was, you can go to the website. It has a weird name. It's called Camel.
Okay.
And when you go to that, you can actually check the price history of certain items. And then you can see what was it yesterday? What was it the day before? That will help give you like an indicator, and that's really good leading into the holiday season. So Camel. So let's say you want to find an Amazon product, Gordon. Up there in the search bar, you can just type in whatever is your fancy right now.
Okay, let's see.
You know,
How
earbuds
about
or
socks.
Tall socks. Okay, great. So we're going to search that. This is fun. And you'd have to do sort of a comparison. Let's see.
So what I would want to do is pick time frames. Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah, I think if you view, like, let's see. Maybe you could check out. Well,
who, by the way, doesn't want to watch two people figure out how to use a website right here live on the web?
Right, really, especially for tall socks.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so this is it. Camel.
Yeah.
I got it at camelcamelcamel.com. Which is up here. Okay, so this is one of the ways to do it. Let me go back to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, to the price history tools, so take a minute to check it out yourself, and also comparing prices with others. I mean, that's just a good thing to talk with your friends and see what what kind of prices they're getting, because even if you have different devices, they may talk, especially if you have a Mac at home and then your iPhone, which are both Apple products. They're going to talk, right? So, but if you have, let's say your laptop is a Microsoft laptop, and then you have an iPhone, that's actually a really great way to compare. Otherwise, ask your friends, like, what price are you seeing for this? And then, of course, as you mentioned, reject those cookies.
So if I'm going on a trip with family or friends and we're all sort of looking at this stuff, it's possible. Let's say you and I wanted to go to a concert together in Nashville. It might be I ask you to book the rooms or you ask me to book the rooms, depending on which of us is looking at a lower price. We might literally be looking at different hotel room prices.
Now you're thinking, definitely, because you're doing it from completely separate browsers, different IP addresses, and then they're not on to you as much. Like one person's booking the room, the other person's booking the flights. And so you guys kind of separate that, and they don't realize how much you need to be there. Also with flights, I mean, I will just say with flights, the airlines have done this for a while, whether it's surveillance pricing or not, they do up it when you show interest, right? So my trick is to use a completely different IP address to like do any research, and then when you go to book, make sure it's not connected in any way, right? Okay. And then when you go to book, then you go and you book that day. You don't
have your research
use that computer.
And your actual purchase.
Different IP addresses too. That's important. Can't be in the same house.
That's a really good tip. So maybe you're researching at home and then you take your lunch break at work or something like that, and that's where you're actually buying stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. Not that we would ever spend any work time
never.
doing that kind of personal shopping.
I mean, this is all for research, Gordon.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Diane, when you talk to people about this, I was surprised, maybe not because you're talking to AI experts at Clemson, so maybe they're more familiar with this, but the average person, are they aware that this is happening to them? And when you ask them about it, are they like us? Or do they get angry about it? Because this just feels dirty to me.
I think it definitely, you've got a lot of people, like I was running into people and just asking them, have you experienced something like this? And got so many different stories. So I don't think they fully knew that it was, quote, surveillance pricing. But I think what they recognize is that sensation of this is dirty, right?
Don't like it.
Yeah. For instance, that woman that I spoke with, Brooke, who had an actual membership to a one of the eating
Uber
Eats, right? And then it was actually, and she went into more detail, and I couldn't include it all in the story, but it was her mother who didn't have the membership. So she saw what her mother was being offered for the same price that she was being offered, and she thought because she had a membership, she would be paying a lot less, but that wasn't actually the case. So not to single out Uber Eats, because there can be various factors.
No. But these are all very sophisticated algorithms and models that exist for only one purpose, and that is extracting the most money from you that they possibly can, period.
Right. We can't blame them, but we need to be aware of it.
Trying to make money, there's no doubt about it. But that's you almost have to raise your defenses at all times to prepare to defend yourself from this kind of
when you're shopping
behavior.
Digitally, for sure.
Oh boy. All right, that's consumer expert Diane Lee. Gordon Dill with you once again. We are here to help. We're going to come back with a new episode next week. As always, thank you for joining us.